Good morning, Nation. John here. Thank you very much for being here this morning. Thank you for caring enough to subscribe and join us here in the trenches as we fight the globalists. Yes, folks, they do exist. I know people think it's just rumored, but no, they're really puppet masters out there. And what I try and do here on this channel is speak out against it. So if you're here, you're probably on a list, especially if you're subscribed. That scares some people away. But for the ones who are not scared and have hit the subscribe button, it's truly appreciated. Quick shout out to Shady as well. Shady had a live stream last night. Of course, a huge event took place yesterday in Tennessee. I really don't want to talk about that this morning. I know a lot of creators will be, but he summed it up perfectly. So go check him out. He's here on YouTube. So anyway, let me just let me explain to you how I got to this conversation this morning. We're going to be talking about currency for both barter and rebuilding during SHTF this morning. How did I get here? Well, I found myself in a conversation. What's today? Tuesday. I think Saturday morning, actually, but I digress. The point is, you've heard this conversation before, I promise you. You can't eat silver. You can't eat silver and gold. Don't stack silver and gold. Well, that's true. I see that argument, okay, but you can't eat gasoline. You can't eat, chainsaw chains. You can't eat a lot of things, but I think you still need them to a degree. So we're going to talk about currency this morning, not only what you would need to barter with and also rebuild with, but why. Why each and every one is important. And we're going to have a tough conversation about people that show up maybe unannounced or unexpected. Okay, so let's talk about currency. So fiat currency. Right now, this is a $1 bill, because that's how I roll. Ain't no hundos over here, son. $1 bill. What is this? Well, in La La Land, this is actually worth $1 or 50-some cents in Biden's America. But I digress. This is actually a promise to pay. This is worth nothing outside of the illusion that society has created. So for most people, this is worth $1 simply because you go into a store and you're able to trade this, the old bartering system here, you're able to trade this for, again, not much in 2023. But because the shopkeeper or the merchant or whatever, the mechanic, they think fiat is worth money, you're able to exchange it for goods and services. The moment we see a full-on collapse, this isn't going to be worth anything, because people are going to realize at this point, well, you can't eat fiat currency either. It's just like silver and gold. You can't eat it. But the difference is, this will be worthless. If you take a deep dive on Venezuela right now, present day, you'll see in the gutters they have their fiat currency. They're just throwing it out like trash. It is absolutely worthless. All right, so getting back to silver and gold for a second, I brought some silver. Okay, the gold, I don't have a lot of it. It's very expensive and it's locked up. And I didn't, I'm leveling with y'all. Silver is easier to grab around here than gold. I didn't want to go unlocking a bunch of stuff for the video, but it is what it is. I don't have a lot of it for that reason. So the appeal with this is it holds value. It has intrinsic value. All right. What does that mean? That means you can look at this once you verify that it's real, and there are ways to do that. Once you know that's real, inherently it has value. Why? Because there's only a limited amount of this on our planet. and there's a lot less gold, which, is why gold is more expensive. You cannot print or 3D print or create more silver. What's out there is what's out there, and that's it. That's the bottom line. This you can print all day long. Again, check out Venezuela, but um, there are other things that you can stockpile in order to barter. In fact, you should be stockpiling a lot of other stuff to barter with outside of just silver and gold. It's actually not my favorite barter item. I brought a couple, 2 or 3, but I'll explain why. So when we think of bartering, we think prepper to prepper, or maybe warlord to warlord, this sort of thing, or rancher to rancher, that sort of thing. There will be some of that going on, but you can also barter with zombies, believe it or not, people that have not prepared. You have to think about the mentality and how much stress people are going to be under during SHTF. So to give you another example, it's been sitting around here for a while. Vodka. Fancy stuff from what I'm told. We caught it on sale. Made in Hawaii. I don't know if that makes a difference or what, but we keep stuff like that on hand. So this is going to work well. Now here's my reasoning for this, nation. Even if somebody likes to partake in alcohol, and even if they have plenty of it, they're still going to be, in my opinion, more open to taking alcohol, in barter, in trade, even than silver or gold. All right. Now, some people may differ on that. They may want their silver and gold, but vices to me are a more important barter item. I'll give you another example. This ain't good stuff, by the way. It was $21, I think, for an entire bag. We have plenty of these. We have some that are also vacuum sealed as a barter item. You know what I'm saying? I like a cigar every now and then. Is this the same as a cigar? No. But during SHTF, people are going to be looking for ways to deal with reality. You know what I mean? Like, reality has finally set in and people want to deal with it. Some people like to smoke. Some people like to drink. Some people, again, are all about silver and gold. All right. So there are different ways that you can barter, different items that you can stack, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But here's where it gets interesting. Hopefully you're still here for the video. It's about to get interesting. All right. So non-preppers, I promise you, will show up to your home at some point. And I'm saying in a total collapse. Now, I'm not saying the power's out for 3 or 4 days. You had a lot of thunderstorms. People are not going to start showing up at your doorstep on day 3. Probably, maybe in a city, I don't know. In a rural community, no. They're not going to start showing up and asking for things on day 3. At least they better not, right? But eventually, if in theory there's an EMP or a total banking crash or something like this, or an invasion, boots on the ground or something, okay, people are eventually going to start showing up. When they run out of things at home, whether they are prepping, whether they are non-preppers, again, most people in the United States, 3 days worth of stuff at home on average. Okay, so they're eventually coming out of their little man and babe caves, and they're going to start showing up at other people's homes. And a lot of times in this community, we talk about how that can be a dangerous situation, and it can be. All right, when people show up, and let's say even extended family that you didn't really prep for, again, it was unexpected. They just showing up out of the blue. They know, for whatever reason, they know or they suspect you have things and they don't have it, okay? Dangerous situation, because what do you do at that point? You don't have many options. You really don't want to send the person away, especially if they roll up on your residence and you have power, you have a generator going, or they catch you at mealtime or something, and they know at that point you have stuff. You don't want to send them away because now they have that information. You have no idea who they're going to hook up with out of desperation, how many people they're bringing back. Y'all know that part of it, okay? But listen, Allowing these folks to stay in some cases can be productive. Um, you're going to need help during a total collapse. Now, I know each and every person out there, this is actually what I like about YouTube. I'll level with y'all. It's what I love about this community. When I see, let's say, for example, 800 people in chat, I don't see the number 800. I know there are 800 homes out there. I can't believe it, tuning in to watch. And again, totally blessed. Thank you for that. But I realize every person watching is in a different situation. Some people may have a bunker. Some people may have it all in a storage unit. Some people may be homesteading full blown. Some are apartment preppers. Some of them live on their own. Quite frankly, maybe they have a pet or something like this. Maybe they've got family coming over. You get the gist. But the point is, people who show up unannounced can be productive because you're going to need hands. You're going to need numbers when society fully collapses. You're going to need help. Now, you hear this all the time in the prepping community, and for good reason, because it's absolutely true. It sounds like a parroting point. A lot of people bring this up in the community, but again, for good reason. You control the food, you control the population. All right. I know y'all have heard that before. All right. But here's the deal. This does not just apply to globalists. It doesn't. Let me give you another bartering example. All right. What? A pack of noodles? What are these? 30? They used to be like 20 cents. I think they're 33 cents right now where I'm at. If somebody shows up, especially with kids in tow, all right, because parents worry about their children eating first, or they should. They are going to give a rat's rear end about something like this at that point. They're going to give a rat's rear end about something like this at that point. But if you have additional food, really cheap stuff prepped, these people now work for you. They're going to do whatever. All right. Just because somebody shows up out of the blue, unexpected, does not necessarily mean this person is automatically a threat. You want to make sure they're disarmed. You want to make sure you're in control of the situation. You want to limit, the information they have on you. You don't want them to see your actual storerooms and things like this. You need a plan for that. But this, 3 times a day, you've got yourself a busy worker bee. Food is going to be an important currency during the collapse. And you will hear lists out there, stuff that you absolutely should not barter. And 2 things that always come up are weapons of peace and ammo, all right, and food. And I totally disagree with the food. Now, I do wholeheartedly agree with the weapons of peace and the ammo. You just don't want to barter that stuff off because it can be used against you later down the road. But food absolutely is a barter item. We talk about skills all the time. Well, helping you defend your property is a skill. As the world gets worse and worse, think about this, okay? Think about 2 parents show up, they've got several kids in tow, and they have no idea what they're going to do. All right, so again, if you introduce very cheap food that is going to help them feed themselves and their families, they're going to work for you. They're going to do the jobs that you really don't want to do. This gives you power. You control the population on your property at that point if you've prepped enough extra, I call it garbage food, but during a collapse, that's like a steak dinner, okay? But think about it a little bit further. So if someone eventually shows up with bad intentions and they want to take your stuff away from you, and you have a few of these busy worker bees, and you are their supplier, guess what? They're going to help you fight off the threat. This is my theory. A lot of times when we talk about bartering and things, a lot of times you'll see it's set up, or people will describe it like a poker game. We're trading chips back and forth. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I think during a total collapse, you're going to have the prepared and the totally desperate. And the totally desperate, again, can be a threat toward you, or you can use that desperation to your advantage with food. Prep, if you can afford to do so, you want to make sure you're taken care of first, obviously. You want to make sure your family's taken care of first, obviously. And some people out there, I guess I get the ethical argument against this. Well, you're just using people at this point. But my whole thing is, if I'm going to do the legwork now and I'm going to prepare, and Mr. X over here is not going to prepare, and he's not going to take care of his family and make sure they're taken care of in a full-blown collapse, when Mr. X shows up at my door with children in tow, and I've vetted this man enough to know he has no weapons, he's no real threat to me, I've got the weapons of peace on me, I'm shot calling, so to speak, or whatever warlord I happen to be with is shot calling, this person can be useful to me because we, the people that have prepared, are literally his lifeline to feeding his family. And I'm sorry, but you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, right? We've heard that one too. You fail to prepare when the facts are in front of your face. You're lucky to have somebody to feed you. You daggone sure better be willing to do the work to take care of your kids at that point. You deserve it. You deserve to work like a dog all day long for 3 packs of ramen noodles per person per day. It is what it is. And there's some things I don't mind doing. For example, in a bug out situation, I don't mind gathering wood all day. You know what I'm saying? But I've also carried water, and I don't really like that. 2 5-gallon buckets filled with water, it weighs a lot more than you think. And I don't really want to do that all day. So if I can get Mr. X to come over and do that all day and basically be a pack mule to feed his family off of my back, then hey, I'm willing to do that. So just consider food, again, garbage food as I call it, as a prep. But getting back to the poker game for a second, I don't think it's going to play out like that, folks. Not even with people that know each other. I think if you are bartering during SHTF, if you have things of value, well, let's say I needed medication, okay, which we have medication, but theoretically, if I need medication and I'm bartering with somebody who likes their booze, all right, and I know what I have and they know what they have, I think that weapons of peace are still going to be there for show, if nothing else. And I think these are going to be stressful interactions, because in a time where it's a total collapse, you're just going to have that added amount of stress. This is my opinion. And getting back to, even with people that that you've known for years and years and years, do not go into a situation and barter with these people without some form of self-defense. Trust but verify. I've heard that, term a lot. Trust them, but also verify that you're not walking into a really, really bad situation. So the question becomes, as a prepper, are you focused on bartering during SHTF, or are you focused on the rebuild afterwards? Because any SHTF, any collapse, unless we're truly at the end of the world, if we're at the end of the world, folks, there ain't a whole lot you can do anyway. I guess you can click off this video, hit subscribe before you do it, son. But if we're just in a collapse of a nation, for example, or collapse of a society, something will come next, and whatever that something is, probably is not going to take paper money that says the United States of America on it. Why would they if it doesn't exist anymore? However, this is where we get back to silver and gold and other things. But silver and gold, solid investment, because during a rebuild situation, do you want this is not a $20 bill, but do you want a $20 bill with the face of a dead president and a country that no longer exists, or do you want $20 worth of silver that people are still going to, see value in? That's why you do the silver and gold. You do it for the rebuild. Yeah, you might run into some people during a collapse that are willing to barter for silver and gold, but I think it's going to be a very limited crowd. I think most people under that kind of stress, again, they're going to be looking for medicine, they're going to be looking for tobacco, they're going to be looking for alcohol, uh, stuff that, that's going to remove them just a little bit from that stressful situation. Also, when you're making that decision between, are you stacking stuff for the rebuild or for the collapse and or barter, consider the space that you have. This is one of the things that I ran into very early on, fighting space, trying to invent space where there's really no space to be had, reorganize, and all of this stuff. Consider, we're talking about the garbage food, consider making some 5-gallon buckets and throwing garbage food in there. This is your salary at the end of the week. You work hard, here's your bucket, this sort of thing, or, large Ziploc bags and things like this. I think that's going to, it's going to be a highly sought after item if you do that. That's just my opinion. But to close this thing down, anticipate that people will show up. I promise you they will. Again, it's probably not going to be on the second or third night, but eventually somebody's going to come a knocking, whether that's a distant relative, a neighbor maybe, a coworker that maybe sort of suspected that you were prepping or you were more prepared. The thing with non-preppers is they don't necessarily look at you and say, hey, you're a prepper. But they're also not as stupid as we like to take them for, I don't understand the non-prepping, but they know. They can tell when they run across somebody that is prepared. Maybe it's they come to your home and it's just a little too organized, or things are out of place and you're not really, your house doesn't look like the typical zombie house. People can tell. And people can sniff that out, and they're going to remember this. Maybe you just made a mistake and you bought way too much stuff, at the grocery store, and they happen to see you out. People know. All right, so please anticipate folks will show up at your doorstep. How are you going to deal with it? Are you really going to put a rifle up there and tell them to hit the bricks? Are you going to allow them to leave? Are you going to welcome them in and just take care of them and mother hen them? Or are you going to make them work? So my advice is, if they don't present a threat and you realize this, you're twice the guy's size, you've got the weapons of peace, the guy's scared out of his mind, potentially he can help strengthen whatever setup you have going on, at least short term. Folks, this is John with Prepper Nation. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. And, let me know if y'all want to live stream sometime. Let me know in the comments. I have no idea over here from day to day. Let me know by subscribing. You can do that as well. If you're in the coffee club or you're over on Patreon, we're going to have our exclusive stream tomorrow around lunchtime. And we are going to be talking about Colony. What a show. Y'all take care and God bless.